Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt, once again from Divination Counseling Service. I'm here today because I want to continue the lesson that I began with Trump's chart when I did a secondary progressed and I did a solar return. And the reason why I want to do this is because we're getting ready to have an election in a few months. And we don't have any real sporting events that I can work on because I have actually already predicted who is going to win Super Bowls based on charts, because if you follow the money on those charts, you can always pick out who the winner is going to be. So in this particular case, we're going to do political stuff, which is a little bit more difficult, but I think you can still see what's going to happen, just as I predict that I don't think Trump is going to make it. I thought I would look at another contentious race, which is the race with Mitch McConnell and his contender. I think her name is Amy. Oh yes, just love when I get to this word and then I can't remember. Amy McGrath. I just want to get that right. So Amy McGrath, because I'd also like to look at Lindsey Graham's election on another video. So I wanted to take a few minutes to look at Mitch McConnell and his chart. I didn't choose Amy McGrath because I know where Mitch McConnell's information is. I think I'd have to dig a little harder for Amy's, and I still may do it before it's all said and done, so we can make a comparison. But I thought, since we're all familiar with who he is, and we also really know a lot about the elections going on right now, I thought this is a really, really good place for us to do a little bit of astrology. So if you will, we're going to talk about his chart right now, just the real chart. So he was born February 20th of 1942. He is born in Sheffield, Alabama. And I had of a time that I found on the internet, 722. I believe it was really 1922. I think they used wartime. But in any event. So we want to look at this particular chart. And as I drew it up and I looked at it, I realized it's pretty good. It's a pretty good chart. So I think I went to Lois Rodin's site to verify time. I think that's actually where I got the time for both of the gentlemen. Actually, no, I couldn't even get, Lindsey Graham wasn't even on there. So, it's kind of hard sometimes to find all the information out about somebody. Wikipedia, I think, had it on Senator Graham. So just as we look at this chart, just a couple of things that I want to point out. He is very fortunate through a family or an association, which is where he, and look at this, Apollon node, where he does a lot of business. So this is somebody, he does well within his party. I think that's a really good way of putting it too, because I think that overall he has had a very decent career because of that Republican Party. I, again, don't want to go into politics on this. I'm just looking at this from a purely astrology perspective. I don't want to be tainted by opinion. Now, I do want to point out up here that Black Moon Lilith sits really right here on this midheaven, which is a real strong indication that he's not very well liked. Now, it's interesting, he might be within his party. People must respect him. He's fortunate there. We've got that Jupiter, and we got the Jupiter with that Black Moon Lilith. So maybe it's part of how he got where he is. But I would think that overall, in the totality of the world, that Black Moon Lilith could be some of the reasons why he's not a favorite politician of many people. Then we get into across the dial. So if we go across the dial, we see that other people look at him as somebody who puts a lot of intrigue on things. Well, I can tell you that's true. He does complicate things politically. I also feel that this has to do with other people that he's involved with. And I would think that many times he's oppressed by some of the people that he works with or has to deal with. the other thing that kind of helps that is this 1 degree of Piscean sun. Now, the 0 degrees and the 29 degrees are really profound degrees, but, being a 1 degree to me is saying something as well. So, it's where sometimes people are in the development of who they are as on a soul level. So, rather young at being old, I guess would be a good thing. And the other thing I want to point out, just because it's really relative to a couple of other things going on, is the placement of both his moon and his Venus. Now, together, they do square each other. So moon and Venus in square does speak to something on his personal life, and I'm sure that his life has not, even financially, I think there's always been a lot of disappointments involved in that. And I'm not going to get into that because, again, this isn't gossipy or political. If it was, well, we could really chew on this, but I'm not going to. I want to talk about it because it's relevant to something else that we're going to be talking about. Notice that this 5 degrees of Aquarius and this 8 degrees of Taurus. Well, you already know what I'm going to say because I've been talking a lot about it. That's where Uranus is sitting. Uranus, which is ruled, like it rules Aquarius. Okay, the moon is in Aquarius, okay, but it squares where it is now because right now, as we know, Uranus right here is conjuncting this moon. So it makes me consider concepts such as, I know that he has a foreign wife, and it could be her, and she's affected by Uranus, which means there's going to be maybe some things that he's going to be dealing with very, very soon regarding his wife. The fact that she's born 9th house, because it is a moon right inside of the 9th house. And also, I've heard that not only is the wife an authority in her own right, meaning she has her own title, but apparently so does her father. Okay. So there's something there. I'm not going to go into it again. That's not why we're here. I'm just going to say, let's look at that as we proceed with some of the other things that we're going to be looking at. Okay. Now, before I move on, I did do a little bit of work on his dial. And the reason why is, well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, here's a man who really does work in the public eye. And what do you see here but Mars moon? So I think this is what he really, really wanted. Okay, I really do. I don't think that he realized how much it would limit him in terms of business, although obviously that's okay. He makes money fine where he is. Pluto Uranus, I think he just likes the position, the power of the position he's in. Now, the thing I wanted to look at is not far away from the Aries point is an Astrea Chronos, okay? So, which kind of means that two things. It means that through his life, he's an authority figure and that he probably doesn't get unseated very easily. Well, that's already true. The guy is 78 and he's not been unseated. And it also means that the issues that he's dealing with in terms of his own credibility are never resolved either. Obviously, the man never runs for president and never would be president. However, because it's not because of where this is. It's close enough to the Aries point. He's seen as an authority, but he's not the president. Now, one of the things that I did here was I went to, we're almost there. There it is. I want to point this out because Hades Chronos makes an interesting fall in the chart. Okay, it's not far from this palace. Okay, and which means politics, and I think he's on the sticky end of politics. I think that we. And again, I'm not getting into it with you because I don't really feel that that's what the value of this is. But as an astrologer, I could do a few asteroids and wonder what the heck is going on there. So this is maybe not somebody that would make for a very good friend. Okay, at least not with that. I think that this also comes from the fact that we have an ascendant Neptune here. I wonder, if this is somebody who avoids things like transparency, if this is somebody who does things in the back a lot, and that did kind of show up in the chart, and I'll go back to that. But the thing that really drew me to this spot, the reason why I wanted to see this, is because right now this man is working for a H Chronos, and I already went through that because we talked about that, because that is a standing natal configuration of our president. But look at this, Ascendant Neptune. This is like dealing in environments where A, you don't really know what's going on, and B, you probably work and sneak around. But you also probably work with some pretty sneaky people, okay? So my feeling is, since it's right across from the node, he's had a lot of connection with what I want to refer to as maybe some sneaky or deviant people. Well, it is politics. And there's a dark side to politics, not even just the people that are out front like he is, but there's a whole darker element that sits in the back room and distributes money. So hopefully something we deal with in the next few years as we reform our government. But this is really interesting because this node connects up with self-destructive behavior and chaos and not speaking up. And that concept of him not speaking up ultimately gets him in trouble. And we're going to see that in some of the lunar return work. So I really just kind of wanted to show that. I also feel that because he does really work for the president, even though we're really not supposed to do that. Here we go with Ascendant Neptune. You're not supposed to work for the H Chronos. But this is a man who succumbs to pressure. Let me go back to the chart so I can show you some of that, where we do have opposite to this. Well, let's look at this. First of all, let's just look at this pressure to solve problems. Okay, so this is somebody who does feel pressure. It's off of the midheaven with that Jupiter. It's like almost like saying, look, I'm going to give you a lot of money, but you now have to do everything I tell you. Well, that does really complicate things, and it can make things a little bit tough. Okay, now bear in mind, what would be aspecting particularly this Venus that's going on right now? I think that's pretty easy. I'm going to look at the let's look at the solar return of the current year, okay? And I just want to show this because this 1 degree of Volcanus, which is coming from the 12th, is talking about pressure on his sun right now, okay? It's an inconjunct, but it is in aspect nonetheless, particularly when you're talking this close in proximity, particularly to a trans-Neptunian. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure opposing this current year's moon placed on him by day-to-day activities. Saturn, because somebody is afraid of repercussions. I wanted to show that because I thought, look at this distance vest up here. Now it is also about focusing on work, but the distance concept, and also the effects of the media. So this one doesn't have a lot. This does, however, confirm to me that, and it's coming from the 12th, remember all these pressures, and remember from his chart what could pressure him is this whole concept of just do it. It has to do with work. He probably is going to have a victory. It's coming from the 12th. It is retrograde. It is an iffy victory. And it makes me wonder if, once again, there's not something going on in the background that perhaps not so good. Again, don't want to get into it. Let's just briefly take a look at the next one, which shows again the sun in the 6th house. And by the way, that's tough. The Neptune is there as well. And the Neptune comes with Aragon. Remember we talked about that in the natal chart. And they do aspect this descendant. So somebody's self-destruction in his life, at least ultimately I think his self-destruction through Helidago, and I'll get to that. But it is Neptune also because I think there's a lot going on that is unknown, okay? So this particular one does show surprises in politics. It also shows beginnings, okay, of things related to business that might be deceptive. Now, is it him? Is it other people? Well, there's a lot of details I could be pulling out of here, but I am going to tell you because of the Hidalgo, because of what we saw in the last chart, because of what we're going to be seeing. I think in part it is also him. So I think there's a lot going on that is self-destructive. And I think part of it starts with another individual that is self-destructive through sneakiness. This is all taking place for this man on a day-to-day level. This gives a 14-degree Venus, which is with Circe, which is, you know, here we go again with even issues with children, which again, I don't want to get into because I'm not really looking at this man's personal life, but all of that is directly squaring that natal moon. So this was a pretty tough year for this man. I would say more than pretty tough. I would say when it comes to self-expression, very tough. I would also say that the activity that he has, because of being so tied to a party, is in essence really kind of making it so his hands are tied, which is kind of nice to hear because they've been doing some things I don't necessarily agree with. So, but I do feel like there's a limit on what he or they can do. And the fact that there's too many or something related to business, that is the problem. Okay, it's like it's Nemesis Apollonia because there's too many, because there's more than one. It can't be. That's what's going to be to blame. It can't be handled. Well, if we were even to talk about who he's dealing with and that he represents in particular this particular president, we can honestly say that it has been more than one bomb that has gone off in this particular presidency. And I believe that's still going to be going on. And we're talking July. Bars in, talking, being subpoenaed in front of the House as we speak. So I think things are going on. I think he's feeling it very badly related to the party. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I do want to show you how well this stuff works. So as I did with Trump, only I did the day after the inauguration for the secondary progressed. For this, for some reason, I did the day of inauguration. It doesn't matter. It's where they are at this point in history or in time, because we're looking ahead. And a couple of things I really, really want to point out. First of all, Poseidon, which represents the media, is in the 9th house, in the house of what I want to call governments, foreign affairs. And it is literally 13 minutes from the Aries point. That is pretty profound. So that's interesting in his chart, okay? That is going to be I think it's going to be an aspect of what is taking place. The other thing would be this 2217, also Zeus. I have a feeling that there are some things that may be coming out about people within the party. So though he might win his seat, when you look down here at the chaos with self-destructive behavior through contacts and connections, and you go up here to the midheaven, which is the future, there is a south node to his party. He might still be representing them. I'm just not so sure they're not in the majority from what it looks like. It's an Achilles heel. It's not at all what he thought was going to happen. And once again, there's some kind of Neptune, there's an uncertainty there. I wonder if he himself, Neptune on the descendant, is not involved in some of this, especially with that trine to Poseidon, if he's not involved in some of these things. Also Nike up here at 18 is a trine. It's like makes energy easier. The other thing I thought was really telling, like I said, was this. The people here are distant and working, but there's this sense of gloom and doom with regards to politics or strategy. There's just crisis after crisis because there's just not enough information known. It's funny because astrologers have been talking about that it's going to take us a while to really sort out everything that's been going on and how many people have had their fingers in the pie. Again, I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to tell you that it's definitely going on because I can see it in Mitch McConnell's chart. So as far as the election is concerned, he may win, but there are some unresolved issues coming in from the, I'm sorry, that's the 8th house. So Poseidon, the press, yeah, the 8th house, it's other people's money, it's other resources, and it's the South node that represents the foreign governments and the government. So excuse me, I get too carried away. If you look at other charts though, because each chart, each return chart is going to be a little bit different because those planets are going to come up in, so I'm still looking at the present chart. Both of these charts are going on right now. These are the current solar returns for Mitch McConnell. So at this point, there's a lot of surprises coming up that they're trying to deal with. Okay, and there you have that enabling. And how much is he enabling somebody else? That would be a great question right here, because I'm going to be really honest with you. This Clotho Pandoro is really only referring to the beginning of surprises, and the boundaries are going to be really necessary because there is so much that people are just really unaware of everything that's going on. And I think that he may be also ironically surprised by some of these things too. In this case, the moon, which is 14 degrees, is not necessarily opposed. It doesn't create a problem here so much, but I think that it does here. So it's going to be very difficult with the Vesta, work, goals, squaring the moon in the 5th house, the house of expression. I don't think he's going to be able to do a whole lot when he gets in there. Okay, I think that starts this year already. I just really think that's where they are. Now, I would like to look at next year. Okay, so here's next year's chart. And this one again shows a lot of boundaries because of chaos and needing a lot of advice. And it does talk about work, but it also refers to, again, that sense of gloom and doom, that sense of things that go very, very slowly. And it talks about how there's a lot of questioning. And and he's surprised. And I'm wondering if they're not questioning him at some point. So here we go again. And they're questioning, in particular, business. And the business involvements, because we have Hestia, we have Apollonia, and we have Nemesis for blame. And then, you know, it's out of realm. Oh, and then here he's feeling like he's being held captive. I really feel like, you know, it might have been better for him if he had lost the election. But I think in his case, having to stay through all of this is really going to bring a lot of this deception to the surface. Whether he was involved or he was enabling, the man is implicated. It also, for that whole year, shows either the sun in this 3rd house or Mercury. This is a house of thinking a lot. So there's depression associated with this house. And in this case, he's going to have to make some decisions regarding some things. And some of it could be relationship oriented, his wife, but it could also be related to money. So it makes me wonder. And again, I'm not doing her charts. We don't know how deeply she's involved in things. I only know by looking at his natal chart that she, in her own right, could have her own issues. So the other thing I wanted to point out is, and again, there's the following year, the moon is 19 degrees of Gemini. Adamitos is here sitting there. So that means he's going to be up against a lot of resistance next year, a tremendous amount of resistance. And ironically, he's the one that might be left out in the cold. Yeah, people are just unpredictable in those dealings. There's that. And remember, that's where his natal moon is sitting. So there is definitely something going on with the woman, but also the public. There's something going on with the public. Also, the resources between him and a woman. I really feel there's delays, there's obstacles, there's a lot of problems here. I think he's trying to heal from something, but we still have Mercury and Saturn and Pluto in that third. So a lot of things are taking place here, a lot of restructuring. He is a part of it. There's a lot of intrigue, a lot of here we go again, because so many things will have to be started over and over again. And that is part of this administration. Here we go again with he didn't speak up. He doesn't speak up. He's almost ornamental. Okay, so again, I wonder, is his power taking away? Poseidon now falling, or the media and that concept of propaganda media all falling in the first house. I wonder if he's, again, not being questioned and if it's not showing up in the press. I do see a withdrawal for health reasons possible. So next year, you know, he may win, but with everything going on, particularly related, it seems, to his wife, or a woman in his life in any event. He does have daughters, so it could be either or. In any event, there is something that seems to cause a withdrawal. I'm not going to go into death or anything that heavy, but again, I'm not doing these for gossipy reasons, or I don't like reading for people really that don't give me permission. I'm doing this because he's a public figure, even though some of these people in office don't understand what public service means. It means transparency. It means you work for us. But I'm not going to go into his personal life, because if he is working for us, then I only want to look at it from the perspective of an employee or somebody who's an official of something. So again, secondary progressed does not look great, okay? It does not look great. We've got Achilles here. We've got Neptune. Stuff coming in. It's going to be coming in from secrets, okay? We got that 8th house, Poseidon, and right up here with Apollon. But it's the Poseidon that's the real trigger here, because it's a trine to Neptune. And it also deals with Industria and our Nike up here, and even Letitia's for interruptions. It does all kind of stem, here we go again, from not speaking out. So all of those things are an aspect to that Poseidon. So I'm going to leave it there. Again, I don't want to get into it too personally, and I don't want to get too political. So I just kind of want to show you maybe what he might be dealing with. And next time I do this, I think I'm going to try for Lindsey Graham. In any event, if you have any questions, comments, or if you'd like any private work done, please contact me through Divination Counseling Service. And as always, please like, share, do what you need to do. But let's get these videos out there. Let's look at this stuff as an opportunity to learn. Let's take what's going on in the world right now as a way for us to study and research. This is research. With that said, I bid you adieu and happy readings till we meet again.